What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Beautiful day here in New York. About 5 p.m. Eastern. Looking out on a nice sunny day. How's everyone doing in here?
Hey, Jacob, can you hear me?
Can hear you great, JP. Thanks for joining me. Back-to-back appearances. You're killing it these days.
We'll see. If I keep asking you really difficult questions, maybe I won't be invited back.
Don't spread those conspiracies in the community. We're here to answer your questions, everyone. We're not dodging things. If we don't have the answer, we'll be honest about it. But ask away, and if we can get to it, we will. If we can't, maybe we'll be able to get to it next time. A little housekeeping just before we jump into it. We're considering kind of going back to the weekly Friday event, and we're also considering ways that we can make it even better long term. So no details to share on that yet. Want to give the process of formulating strategy its due respect and time to kind of finalize, but just wanted to flag that out here that these Tuesday shows are nice, but there is some kind of murmuring in the community that we answer the same questions, and maybe it makes sense long term to have it be a weekly thing, and we can supplement that with kind of Tuesday office hours as needed long term. But anyway, we'll get into that discussion as we go. No need to kind of cover everything right now. I see a lot of friends of the community in here. Thank you all again for joining. JP, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Do you want us to use general today for any questions that come in real time, or should we go ahead and open the office hours channel for that reason?
I'm good to open up the office hours and take it from there.
Beautiful. Yeah, we have a full long list of good questions that came in earlier today. So I've not sure if we'll have a chance to go to the well for some more today, but we'll see.
Perfect. Let's jump right into it.
Perfect. I think probably the best place to start would be an open question to you. Do you want to talk about that new pack announcement that just came out before we started?
Sure. So I touched on this a little bit last Friday, and I'm really excited about this as a long-term opportunity for us. But we're now scheduled to regularly do reservation packs. So the process would be you reserve your slot on, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. In this case, from Tuesday afternoon until Wednesday morning, you have the opportunity to reserve your slot. All you need to do is go to the packs page and click reserve, and you'll have a confirmation message confirming your reservation. Then from there, we'll open up a queue on Friday that will be exclusive to those who reserve their slot in the queue. We'll have our compliance team go through the list and make sure that botters and scammers are not able to slip through the cracks, to deter bad actors from creating tons of accounts to get more packs. And yeah, I think we could maybe even do this on a weekly basis long term. So new collectors coming in will always have a pack within 9 days of their Top Shot experience. Because what we'll have is you'll register throughout the week for Friday's drop. There will be a cutoff on Wednesday morning. And then if you register on Wednesday afternoon, you'll just reserve your slot for the following week's drop. And I guess we're being semantically kind of inconsiderate here, because these are not drops. They're technically releases. When we're talking about base set packs, we talk about releases, of course. But yeah, I mean, we can do this a lot going forward. There might even be opportunities long term to enable people to buy more than one pack at a time. We'll see. I want to be measured in my excitement, because while I'm very excited, it's still obviously a very new process, and we're going to learn as we go. But the goal long term has always been to enable collectors to get base set packs fairly regularly, and we think this is the best solution we found to date that enables us to do it.
That sounds amazing. Are there any limits at all on the number of packs that'll be available for any of these?
No limits at all. If we have 500,000 collectors who all reserve their pack, we will mint 500,000 packs for that queue. Now, of course, as we've now seen with our pre-order packs, and we're seeing now here as well, when we have opportunity to get packs for a window, a queue that lasts for almost 24 hours. In this case, it will last for about 18 hours if I had to do rough napkin math. I'm probably wrong there, but what we tend to see is everyone joins at the start, and we might have a queue of 100,000 people at the very start. And then at the very end, we'll also see a lot of stragglers come in trying to time it perfectly. My recommendation to everyone here is if the queue on Friday starts at 8 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Pacific, I believe it's 8 a.m. Pacific. If the queue starts at 8 a.m. Pacific, maybe show up around 4 p.m. Pacific. See what the queue looks like there. If it's still super busy then, maybe come back an hour later. You can enter the queue as many times as you'd like if you're eligible for the drop. It's only after you purchase your pack will you no longer be able to enter. And you might actually be even able to enter the queue after you purchase the pack, but you'll be restricted to only purchasing one pack per queue window. So no need to get there at the very start. As long as you get there before 5 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, you will be able to snag your pack. And everyone here who hasn't yet reserved, you have until 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow to do so. So what are you waiting for? Jump on it.
Now, I know we got a lot of other questions to get to, but I did see one come up. I know everybody likes to know exactly what moments are in any of these release sets. Is that something that's because it seems to be missing right now from the pack page they're saying? Is there anything, will they see that before they purchase?
Yes, you will see it before you purchase. In long term, this is going to be something. We are not going to be able to get the pack content sheet live before you have to reserve your slot. So you're going to have to reserve your slot in blind faith that there's going to be a moment or two or 20 or 200 in these packs that you're going to want. But the limitations of our sorry, excuse me, let me drink some water. The limitations of our team are restrictive right now. So we're not able to get that pack content sheet ready several days in advance. We will be able to get it ready before you have to purchase. And the reason is some of the moments that you'll be purchasing out of these packs have not yet been minted. So in order for us to give you a full kind of landscape of the potential moments in these packs, we don't want to risk kind of anything with the minting process going awry. So we're kind of, and you'll see this week to week where when you reserve your slot, you're not going to necessarily see the pack content sheet. But by the time you do go to purchase your pack, you will absolutely be able to see what moments are in these packs.
That's great. This sounds really exciting. The possibility of having a pack available to everybody every week. I think that's one of the things we've always wanted to get to. So good news there. There's, I think the next topic we should move on to, the showcase competition. There are a lot of people, seeing as the window has just closed, I think within the last couple hours. What are the next steps? And there's a whole list of questions that you can imagine about those. And probably the top of the list is for everybody that participated. When is the distribution of the $20 Dapper credit?
Yeah, great question. So next steps are, we took a snapshot at noon Pacific on the dot today to ensure we captured every single collector that got 20 or more likes on their showcase, that created their showcase on April 12th or later. So within the parameters of the showcase contest. Now, next steps are getting that list over to our compliance team so that we can deduplicate the list and make sure that no collector who made multiple showcases gets rewarded more than once. From there, we're going to take that list and get our engineering team to do the credit drop for those eligible collectors. Then we're going to look at the top 50 most liked. We're going to see if there are any mods, any NBA players included in that list. For however many mods and NBA players that are included, they'll also get a pack, but we're not going to take from the rest of the community. So if in that top 50, there are 2 players and 1 mod that got in the top 50 most liked, we're going to send out early adopters packs to 53 people, those 3 plus the other 50, top 50 most liked in the community. Same thing for the Rising Stars pack for the top 10. And from there, we'll have an internal panel of judges look at the top 10 most liked showcases and vote on their 3 favorites. And whichever 3 showcases get the most votes will receive the legendary Holo Icon pack. So I envision this process based on timeline. We have 8 days. The contest formally ends on May 12th. Submissions ended today. So that seems like a fair kind of estimate of how long it will take for us to do all of those things, from the deduping to the credit drops to the judging to the kind of sorting through the list and figuring out how many packs we need to drop. So all of that I envision to happen between now and next Wednesday. The reason we chose Wednesday, May 12th, is to give the contest a full month of lifespan. So those are kind of all of the steps involved. If I had the power to drop credits into everyone's account myself, I would do it. But because we have so many different stakeholders involved in this kind of process, it will take about a week or 8 days to fulfill.
The other side of the question that's coming in regularly on this is, when are players or collectors able to sell the moments from their showcase without having to worry about any impact on the competition?
You can do that starting now. We have the snapshot. We have every collector. Now, granted, if you are among the top 50 most liked, you're in the top 10 most liked, you want to be considered for the grand prize. If your moment does sell, it's going to be impossible for our judges to watch that showcase if it's incomplete without one of those moments. So if you were just trying to get to 20 likes and mission accomplished there, you can start selling now. If you're trying to compete for the grand prize still, and you think that you might have enough likes, but you're not positive, I would recommend holding off for another 8 days, and then you can kind of put those moments in the marketplace. But I don't want to tell someone to start selling today only for that to ruin their grand prize potential as we do judging in the next week or so.
That makes sense. Okay. So the category that we got more questions, I think, than any other category today is based on last week's announcement about trading tickets. So I think the open-ended question that we can start with is there anything more information-wise that you can share today that wasn't included in the blog post? Some of the questions are decisions that happen behind the scenes, the 1 ticket, or all moments being worth 1 ticket, things like that.
Sure. So I think on a fundamental level, the number one criticism I heard in the community, I think generally speaking, it had maybe 70% approval, just based on anecdotal scrolling through Twitter and scrolling through Discord and seeing how people felt. Certainly nothing we do is going to have unanimous approval. So I'll take 70% or 65% pretty happily. The most common criticism we got is, why would we value a legendary moment the same as a Series 2 base set moment that's a CC? And the reality is, we're not valuing, right? We as a team are not taking these moments and appraising them. We're giving our collectors an opportunity to add utility to any of the moments in their collection. If they so choose to submit a legendary or a rare moment, that's their prerogative. But it runs contradictory to what we're doing at Top Shot to encourage people to trade in moments that they actually care about and actually like to a extreme level that they love that moment, right? We are creating a sink, if you will, for collectors in the community to submit moments that they're not super kind of passionate or excited about. And this is not supposed to be a mechanism for collectors to get rich quick or game the system. So similar to what we saw with challenges for a little while, where word got out that it was a surefire way to make money. And of course, a lot of people participated in challenges, and the addition sizes of challenge rewards was no longer super scarce, and challenges became maybe a losing proposition as a collector for a little bit, unless you have a strong affinity for the challenge reward itself. Now, I think something similar is going to happen here with these trade tickets, where an overwhelming population of our community are going to be pursuing these trade tickets. So they're going to be buying up common moments at the floor and saving them until they can trade them in for tickets. And what's going to happen is we don't have that many packs, right? We have, of the Series 1 base set reserve packs, we have, very, very kind of scarce numbers there. I'm blanking on the exact, but I think it's somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 that are going to be available in trade ticket queues. And I'm anticipating we're going to have multitudes more collectors with enough trade tickets to try to get in. Now, I don't know how many trade tickets it will cost to get into these queues. I don't know how many trade tickets one of these packs will require. But what I can say safely is we'll look at the data and we'll try to come up with a number that rewards the collectors that are aggressively pursuing it. And I don't think it's going to be a very small number. It's not going to be a trivial number of trade tickets. We're not talking 1 to 5. We're talking multitudes more. Now, I don't know if that's like high 2 figures, or if that's 3 figures, or if that's 4 figures even. We'll have to see what the data says when trade tickets are available. But what I can say with certainty is that collectors going out really aggressively to buy at floors so that they can get a ton of trade tickets later, like I have some apprehension there, because to be very, very clear, the competition is going to be immense. And there's a really strong chance that if your strategy is contingent on getting lucky with a random queue, that you're going to walk away disappointed. So collectors, be cognizant of the numbers and the facts, and be strategic as you go about kind of pursuing trade tickets, because last thing I want is someone to go all in on it and then get unlucky in the queue and then get mad at us, which is inevitable. I already know it, but I want to be super upfront and transparent that I foresee that being something that a lot of collectors do, and I want to mitigate that as much as possible.
The next logical question about it that seems to have come up a number of times is, obviously, as the players are trading in the moments that they don't love, the inventory that would be held in our accounts would be growing. And then we're going to repackage those, as we've said, and offer them for sale out to the community at a lower number of trade tickets. The question is will the community be able to actually see the contents of that account in order to understand potentially maybe what the value of a potential pack, if they purchase one, would be? Or basically, will they be able to see what's in that account?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a firm answer for you all right now. We haven't built the feature yet. I think as we scope it out, that's certainly feedback I'll provide to the team. If it's possible, we'll do it. But I would safely anticipate that if you look at the floor of what moments are going for right now, that's kind of what you can probably anticipate will be the types of moments you'll see in these trade-in packs. Now, is there an off chance that you get something really good? Absolutely. I think that's part of the game here. There are going to be some collectors that submit or trade in moments that other collectors would be really excited about. So we'll see. But we're a little bit away from knowing kind of more specifics on kind of visibility into it.
You've been pretty explicit that the plan that's been outlined is for the the series one base set moments. A lot of people are asking about other moments that are in the Top Shot account that are, rare scarcity level or legendary, or some challenge rewards, ones with red stars. Is there anything that you can share about what we're going to do with those?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is firm, and I think we want to test out with Series 1 base set reserve packs first. But I think the community could use their imagination that we're not building a feature for a one use case that will no longer have a shelf life after November of 2022. Like we anticipate that trade tickets and trade ticket queues are going to be a part of the Top Shot collector experience long term. I think that it is fair to speculate that challenge rewards from Series 1 might end up as, kind of like the gift, one moment packs, maybe 2 moment packs that we put out there for trade ticket queues long term. Now, again, to be very explicit, this is just speculating and surmising on my part. I don't have any hard facts there, and I think if we're kind of just reading the tea leaves, I think it's a safe kind of projection, but I also can't give you a timeline on when that will happen, only that it will happen after at least our first Series 1 base set reserve trade ticket queue and potentially many. But yeah, I think like we'll continuously come up with ways to reward collectors with trade tickets, and maybe we'll be able to come up with kind of trade ticket exclusive packs that contain moments that we haven't yet minted and aren't already in our reserves, right? So I'm excited about what that could look like, but I don't have specifics for right now.
Sounds great. I think the last question in this category that I'll go with is a little more philosophical than the others, and that is, a lot of people in the community wanted to see us burn or provide the ability to burn moments. I think Alan touched on a little bit the day that the information was released, but the question is really, what is it about burning that we don't like?
Yeah, so we've committed to burning only one type of moment to date, and those are the rare Eastern and Western Conference Finals moments from last year that weren't bought. And the reason we're burning those is because we pledged to burn those. If we had a similar instance happen today, we probably would have taken a longer view and not pledged to burn those. But we've committed to it, and we'll follow through. But I think one of the general concerns with burning is it's not super conducive to the long-term vision we have. We understand it builds short-term excitement, puts collectors more in control of their own destiny. Fair argument all around. But when we create a mechanism for burning moments that are irrecoverable, it creates way more potential baggage down the road. So this recycled kind of system with trade-in tickets and traded-in moments just gives us far more runway to work with long term and rewards our collectors in a unique way where I would anticipate that we're going to get a lot of trade-in moments. And again, we're not going to have everyone. We're going to have more trade-in moments than trade-in packs that go out to the community. So there's somewhat of a temporary burn, if you will, but those will get recirculated long term. So that's kind of how I would frame it. I think that we're open-minded long term, but our team looks at burning as a very kind of definitive ultimatum, and we're really early in our game, and we're not trying to make decisions that are unrecoverable years from now. So, as I mentioned, we've done that once. We'll see what happens. to, community sentiment when we actually do end up burning the Eastern and Western Conference Finals moments from Series 1. But again, I'm not anticipating that happening anytime too soon. It's on our list of things to get to, but not quite as urgent in the pecking order.
Makes sense. Perfect. Thanks. I think the referees would be upset with me if I didn't ask you this question today. So moving on from that last topic to blocked transactions. Continue to get a ton of questions, and I'm sure if I scrolled right now up through the office hours chat, people would be asking about it. So people depositing, trying to buy a pack, making a marketplace purchase. There seems to be more cases where they're hitting your payment has been blocked. What can we tell them? What's being done? Do you have anything you can share with them to reassure them of what's going on?
Well, I can say with certainty that we're aware that it's a huge problem, and we're making it a top priority alongside, withdrawals and identity checks. This is something that we don't want to be a long-term issue. We're training our system. Our system is constantly learning. And the reason why it's happening is, long-term in our best interest to, weed out bots and scammers. What I can say with confidence to collectors here is that one of the most common issues we see is credit cards. Using someone else's credit card, using your partner's credit card. Use your own credit card. If you are experiencing issues, trying to deposit crypto might be a good kind of workaround. Getting crypto and getting Dapper balance through crypto is gonna help your process. But most of the time when we're talking about this, we do provide kind of vague ideas about what may have caused it. And among those vague ideas, I think credit cards in particular is one of the bigger issues. Now, granted, there are absolutely going to be instances where there are false positives. And for that, I'm genuinely sorry. Our team is sorry. We don't want false positives. We don't want to kind of impede your enjoyment of Top Shot. And we know that false positives is a massive impediment. But what I would say is bear with us as we kind of refine our system, train it, and improve it. Know that we are aware that it's a massive problem that we want to address, and look at, actually now I'm going to backtrack. I don't know if it's a massive problem because it is impacting a very negligible percentage. It's an important problem we want to address. I just don't want to, say that out of context. But it's something that we're going to continue to work toward improving. And we literally today just had a meeting internally to discuss how can we help these collectors that are getting payment blocks in a more efficient manner. And I think we're coming up with some nice solutions that, aren't necessarily the massive fix, but the massive fix will come as our system trains and learns and gets better at identifying scammers from false positives.
Just in case anybody's not familiar with the term, Jacob, what do you mean by a false positive?
A false positive would be an instance in which our system identifies you as a scammer or a bot wrongfully. So they're looking through their rubric of ways to identify whether this person is doing nefarious behavior, and something comes up, again, using a VPN or using the wrong credit card. Those are classic kind of examples. And the system detects it and it purchase blocks you because it thinks that you're a bot or a scammer. And so that's what a false positive would be in this instance. And we're working on ways to kind of mitigate false positives long term.
I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order because you did mention bots, and there have been, again, as normal, there's a number of questions both before we gather, or when we gathered them, as well as in the chat right now. There seems to be still a number of active marketplace bots that are taking away the opportunity for collectors to make purchases that they see pop up on some of the third-party sites that they might be using to track. what are we doing to try to make that situation better? And I'll ask the simple question that was asked: and they named a couple people. How are they continuing to operate? How are they not banned yet? I guess is the exact wording.
Yeah, for the obvious cases of suspicious activity, please flag them to our team, and we will do what we need to do to investigate and ensure that they can't continue abusing the platform. To be clear, we are kind of banning slash freezing slash restricting accounts that have, been identified as known abusers based on a handful of different factors that we're going to keep private, so not to train them to avoid getting identified. But I think right now we're sitting, a lot of the policy is sitting in the legal's hands as we identify kind of our role and our relationship with known entities around kind of, if an account is suspended indefinitely, what happens to those moments? Will we confiscate them? I don't know. I don't think so. Are we going to let them get their account back anytime soon? I don't think so. What does that mean for those moments? There are a lot of different kind of legal questions that arise around kind of, okay, do those need to get kind of turned over to the government? Things like that. So we want to be respectful of that process. I probably already divulged more than I should, but just know that we are working through it. Our lawyers are kind of keeping it as a top priority, and sooner rather than later, we're going to have a solution that works for us in successful ways to inhibit kind of abusers long term.
I know in the past we used to provide a form that collectors could use to report suspected activity. Are we still using that form? And if so, should I go ahead and try to track that down and link it out?
Yeah, we have that form. Frankly, we're working with some great third-party tools in the community that are helping identify these as well. So we have more automated systems. But for those that do want to get involved and help, thank you, Luke, for sharing. The Report a Bot form is a great destination for that.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Should we move on to... All right, let's talk in broad strokes about packs. So I think the first thing, so people are asking a lot of questions around requirements for new pack sets that are released, new, like whether they be rare, legendary, and in some cases, other ones as well. The topic that's been coming up as well is collector score. So can you talk a little bit about those requirements and how collector score might be progressing and maybe what the future looks like for that?
Yeah, I think you're going to see maybe a first kind of rough draft of collector score very soon that will take into account your account, the moments you own, the types of moments you own, and we'll use that as kind of a rough sketch of what that could potentially look like long term. Now, I want to emphasize and make explicit that what we roll out will be a rough draft and won't be our finished product. But you might see that manifest itself soon as a way for us to gate rare packs, legendary packs around how kind of dedicated a collector is. And we'll have a more binary metric of a collector score of X. And if the collector has a score higher than that, they'll be eligible for the drop. If it's lower than that, they won't be eligible for that. We're going to try to identify and target a number that gives a lot of collectors opportunity. We're not trying to make this extremely exclusive, but obviously there's going to be instances where someone just misses the cut and they're going to be outraged. But know that we're being overly conservative with our inclusivity and making sure that it's accessible to a lot of people rather than the alternative, which would be making it super hard to get in and having a lot of collectors not be able to have access.
Now, from previous lives, I've been involved in credit scores and things like that, and I know normally that secret sauce of how the score is calculated is kept pretty tightly secret. Is there any plan to provide any guidance to the community? And the reason I'm bringing this up is there are some speculation questions coming out about how they think we're going to build the collector score. Is there a chance they'll be able to see a little bit more about what does influence the plus or minus?
Yeah, we'll share kind of a rubric of what our rough draft looks like in a blog post, so you'll have a good idea of how you can improve or increase your collector score or decrease your collector score based on collector habits. Now, on a kind of holistic level, I think you'll see this coming, as soon as even our next rare drop, which could happen this week, it could happen next week. And we're not going to, preview what that rubric looks like or what those numbers look like. But just be mindful that collector score is coming and it's coming fast. It will be, super exciting for a lot of the community to get involved in a new way, and it will once and for all maybe put to bed the question of how do you define an active collector, because we'll just have a score and everyone will be able to identify where on the side of the score they are at any given time.
So completely unrelated, I did get a question about a throwdown pack and when it was any updates on it. Is there a reason why I should ask that question right now, or should we move on?
Throwdown pack will happen either this week or next. Stay tuned. That pack will include kind of a collector score requirement, and you will kind of get a better idea of how we're calculating collector score in our rough draft of it as we roll it out.
And presumably we're going to continue to hold back any insight on pack pricing for that until the pack actually is announced?
That's correct. Though the community, I think, did see those moments getting minted, and I can just, for posterity's sake, share that those moments will be minted up to 1,800. So the throwdowns moments are going to be out of 1,800.
I have two more questions for you on the topic of sets and packs and things like that. So first one is, I think we probably have this question probably every office hours, and that's, do you have an update on the remaining moments for the Cool Cats Master Challenge, the two moments that are still yet unannounced, and any update on the overall timing for the Master Challenge itself?
No updates on either, but both top of mind, and we'll share those updates when we have them.
And last but not least, I guess a bit of a fun one. One of our collectors is asking if there's ever going to be moments for NBA coaches.
Potentially one day, but not currently on our roadmap. But I'm not gonna say never.
I thought that one was interesting. I just happened to pick up a 1990s box of Skybox cards, like cardboard, not too long ago, and that was one of the main components of that pack. Was a lot of coach moments. All right. Okay, we'll get back to a little bit of some areas of concern for the community. So, site availability issues. So a lot of people are concerned, and I'll just read this question because it's actually pretty well worded. Why does Top Shot keep dropping challenges at the same time as packs, at the same time as market shutdowns? It's a setup for problems like we have every time this happens.
Yeah. So, I think our team is looking in and exploring different options for releasing the challenge. Regarding last night, there was an unforeseen issue that was, at the end of the day, everything happens on Top Shot. So this is not to pass the buck, but we do have a bunch of third parties we work with, and when they have issues, that leads to issues on our end. So last night's issue is a third party issue, which implicated us, but in theory, our partners have been great, and issues on their ends have been few and far between, generally speaking. But yeah, I think when we're looking at challenges and timing of challenges, I've given the feedback, our community reps have given the feedback. Let's try to release them in a way that doesn't impact kind of pack drops. We have seen instances where when we release a challenge in normal circumstances, that could lead to overwhelming of the site. So we'll be kind of thoughtful and methodical about it, but the feedback is heard, and we will continue to figure out ways that we can solve that issue.
I know some, but definitely not all of the community understands that we stagger the reintroduction of opening the marketplace after one of those types of events. The question gets asked a number of times about, have we thought about any other alternatives that would provide equal access as opposed to the staged reintroduction of access?
Yeah, we'll look into it. I think that's something, it's a fair piece of feedback. It's something that I've certainly flagged and our team is aware of, and looking into better solutions long term. It's just hard because what happens is if everyone has access and everyone's going for the same moment at once, it will either lead to 99.9% of collectors being frustrated that their purchase failed, or in a worst case scenario, leading to the site kind of getting overwhelmed and crashing, which means that our engineers and our devs have to kind of stop working on great new features such as reservation packs and start building things, just repairing things that wouldn't be broken in ordinary context if we didn't just create a Wild West scenario where everyone's pursuing the same stuff.
I guess the last question on some of the frustrations that I think a lot of people felt, was kind of coincidental with last night's issue, and it happens. It's been happening actually more frequently, where it seems like. But what's the update on cooldowns being enforced on failed purchases? Everybody is getting really, really frustrated that continues to happen.
Yeah, that's one of the things that our team is kind of QAing and testing, and it should be solved relatively soon. I don't have a timeline on if that's later this week or if that's next week or the week after, but certainly sometime in May, I think that issue will be addressed and solved.
Excellent. Probably, since we're talking a little bit about what the devs and engineers are working on, any update on other third-party authenticating tool? Sorry, 2FAs like Google Authenticator or Authy or something like that?
Yeah, no updates on those to my knowledge, though. I'm not the most privy to that information, and it's possible it is going on kind of behind the scenes.
Okay, and we're getting into some other interesting questions. So, a couple people are asking things about new creative ideas of challenge, or for how we handle challenges. And the first one that comes up is, has there ever been any thought to, and he gives some examples, but it really comes down to at least partially aligning the reward moment serial number with some influence from the serials of the moments that were collected?
Yeah, it's something we'll consider. I think as far as challenges go, there are a lot of great ideas from the community and internally on our team that we're looking at and exploring. I don't think we have an update to share today around any of it, but I want to make sure that we're in a generally pretty smart place when we actually do make revamps to challenges. So that idea is interesting. There are other ideas around challenge rewards that are interesting. Part of what makes a challenge super tempting and exciting, though, is the idea that you can hit the jackpot if you are a kind of a newer collector and you collect maybe cheaper requirement moments based on serial number, you still have a chance of hitting that jackpot. So we would have to kind of weigh pros and cons. I love that the community is thinking about these things and has opinions. And
I think we've proven as a team to be super receptive to community feedback, and we have ideas internally that we have been excited and know the community will like, that we've been sitting on and we'll continue to sit on until we're ready to release them. But yeah, just wanted to kind of flag that to this group.
One question, maybe I probably should have thrown this in with the other feature ones, but do we have any insight into when collectors might be able to buy and sell packs in the marketplace?
I would guess sometime this summer. It might be late summer, but that's kind of the timeline I would share.
Is there any comments you might want to make to the community about people who may be offering to provide that capability today, for example?
What was that?
Just asking if there's any advice you want to give to the community for anybody who sees somebody offering to sell packs in Discord today.
Yeah, I would be very careful as collectors to not involve yourself in that process. It will absolutely get flagged by our compliance team when we're looking, and it will slow down your withdrawals. The feature will be built. In the meantime, if you are desperate to add liquidity to your account, I would recommend opening up the packs and then selling the moment in the marketplace. I do not want to give anyone advice here that will lead to a frustrating kind of withdrawal experience later. So I would refrain from purchasing unopened packs off market, because it, by definition, will get kind of flagged by our team as suspicious behavior.
Perfect. Okay. I think we might go into some, I guess, maybe more rapid fire questions. You ready for these, Jacob?
Always ready.
All right. Have you thought about putting in place a requirement for the receiver of a gift to have to accept it?
No, I haven't thought of it. I think it's an interesting idea. But I'm also mindful of building a feature that, impacts maybe less than 1% of the users. I don't know many collectors here that would be upset about receiving a moment in their account.
Yeah, that's true. It sounds like this was a pretty specific question that maybe there was a particular NBA player who was streaming and received an unsolicited moment. Let's just say maybe there was an opponent that maybe the moment didn't show them in the best light, for example. All right, next question. Is there anything coming around regular season awards such as Sixth Man, Most Improved, and the Defensive Player of the Year?
No updates there. I'm seeing a question from earlier, so let me just clarify. When it comes to moments that are in the accounts of banned collectors, we have some tactics that we're currently employing. The most kind of common is freezing their account, preventing them from being able to access those moments. Now, that's the extent of where we're at. As we look into what we can do long term, we will keep you all updated. But one of the kind of holdups from us kind of being more aggressive, perhaps, in the banning of suspicious accounts is the reality of kind of our policy around it and how it interacts with kind of regulators. So we want to be compliant, but we also don't want to do anything that's irreversible unless we're absolutely sure.
While you were on your your brief break, I did mention to everyone that was listening that one of the other suggestions that came in around challenges was kind of interesting, which it's got its roots back to some of the other Dapper projects. But would the team ever consider doing mystery challenges where you wouldn't know that there was a reward moment until you either accidentally or collected up a certain specific set of moments?
I think the future is really bright on that. Easter eggs on product, collecting, certain moments from former teammates could lead to something. I don't know. I'm speculating. To be very clear, none of this has been scoped out, but absolutely, I think the collecting and the fun of it will only be accentuated and increased as you kind of build more Easter eggs and kind of hidden moments, hidden surprises in the product.
Who knows? Maybe our devs have put an Easter egg or two out there already. Who knows, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Speaking of fun little features, one of our Discord members is asking how we're doing with virtual confetti appearing on your moments page when you hit a collection milestone. Says he really needs virtual confirmation that they've done something special.
Maybe one day. I'm open to it, but not necessarily something that we have scoped out again.
I guess we've got about 5 minutes left. Maybe I'll just kind of do a shout out to to Daniel or anybody else on the ref team. If you've spotted a question that Jacob or I should take on, maybe just put it at the bottom of the office hours chat so we don't miss anything important. Will you be releasing all common moments held in the NBA Top Shots account, or just some? And the example they give is the LeBron first moment and the number of moments that are actually still in that account. And apparently that's a big number, like 563.
Yeah, those moments will be included in the Series 1 base set reserve packs that you need trade tickets for. And 70% of those packs will be distributed through trade ticket queues. So if you want those moments, that will be the only way to get it other than going through the marketplace.
Okay. So I'm seeing we're getting flagged here. Is there going to be a master challenge for the hustle and show set?
No. And you all can safely anticipate that unless we explicitly say within a week of kind of a release that there won't be a surprise master challenge midway through it. But no anticipation, no plans of a hustle and show master challenge.
This one probably isn't so much of a rapid fire question. People are still asking for updates on accounts that haven't been enabled for withdrawals. Anything you can talk to about that that's current as of today?
So last week we prioritized and put our focus on collectors that had been sitting, waiting for a really long time to get access. So the numbers were lower last week as far as total number of collectors that got access. And just for context, we've been open and transparent talking about how it does take us longer for those. So we were able to get through significantly less cases last week, but we were able to get them, the more complicated cases, access. And we'll continue to try to find the right balance of getting as many people access while still giving priority and kind of time toward those that have been sitting and waiting for a while.
I guess possibly the last question for today, unless we want to run over. I think this is a merch question, but on the off chance that it might be virtual, let's approach it from a merch question. Somebody is asking, are there going to be accessories And I think they were trying to appeal to me, and they said, or sneakers released in Top Shot to collect.
Potentially. I mean, I don't want to speculate on that. Like, I think that there will certainly be. We've already seen Wilson Chandler do an endorsement with virtual sneakers. Obviously, many in the community saw the news of Genies coming to Flow soon, which we're really excited about. And you can, build out your wardrobe digitally through Genies. So I don't have a timeline or a projection on that. I don't think virtual sneakers on Top Shot is on a roadmap right now.
Fair. Yeah, I think I might have messed up that question by turning it over to merch, but yeah, I think it is virtual now that you mentioned that. I guess we only have a couple minutes. Canadian bank account wire transfers. Any updates?
Yeah, we're still looking at sometime in early May. I know we're in early May right now, but I would anticipate the next week or two. That's the latest I've heard from the team there.
If withdrawal access is the number one priority, what are the next major goals for the team? I suspect we've pretty much covered almost everything in that category, but maybe open-ended question. Anything you wanted to share or tease at this point?
No, I think when we're on that topic, like one thing I can say excitedly is that we're scaling up that team further. We'll be able to go through more cases faster. And we're hiring on the Dapper side a head of communications that will be able to give updates more frequently to the team, because we've been kind of piecemealing those together from our end, but we're not the best equipped for it. So, that's where we're at. And generally, I would just say to the community here, really appreciate your patience. And I know that we're making really nice strides.
Well, what do you think, Jacob? Should we start winding down, or do you want to try to take a couple more from the chat?
I've unfortunately got to jump to another meeting, JP, but thank you again for hosting this. Did a great job moderating as always. I'll take one last from the community because I've seen it come up a couple of times. To clarify, collector score is not replacing baller status necessarily, though they will have different purposes. Collector score will be a more dynamic score based on your collection and the account and how things are fluctuating based on your acquiring or selling of moments. And we'll use collector score to determine eligibility for certain drops. Baller status is a more achievement-based kind of metric that will only go up based on you accomplishing certain things. So yeah, there we. That's kind of how I'd want to close this out. I've got to jump to another meeting, but thank you again for everyone joining, and appreciate the questions. And we'll see you again on Friday.
Thanks, Jacob. I guess on behalf of the community, I think everybody appreciates your candor and openness. So talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. Thank you, JP. Appreciate you moderating.